What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the DubsIn4 Podcast. Today is October 21st, 2018. This is episode 14, and we are officially underway. NBA season started this last week. We finally made it. It was a long summer. Spent pretty much, the entirety of the podcast was just during the off season. So now we are finally back, and we can talk about real basketball. So, to this week we're just going to be going over some early reactions. Yes, it's very, very early. Most teams have only played 2 games. Some have played 3. But that's it. That's all we've seen. So it's going to be hard to judge. It's going to be hard to judge a lot of these teams, but that's exactly what we're going to attempt to do. I've got a list of 5 teams that I think are the most surprising so far this year, and 5 teams that I think are the most disappointing so far. There's been a lot of teams who have been about as good as expected, but I have a couple that have been that have either overperformed or underperformed based on what I was expecting them to do before the season started. So we're just going to go over that. Just a couple notes from the week. There was a huge fight last night involving the Lakers and the Rockets. Chris Paul and Rajon Rondo, Brandon Ingram, all of them got multi-game suspensions. Ingram got 4, Rondo 3, Chris Paul got 2. So that was kind of strange. In my opinion, they should have probably gotten more games suspension, but I mean, it's really whatever. It's not a huge deal. Regular season games aren't going to matter too much. Lakers are going to get hurt by this, though. Rondo and Ingram are both pretty integral pieces to their team, and they're already kind of struggling, as we're going to talk about in a little bit. But so there was that fight that happened. I guess quickly we'll go over the Warriors' 3 games this year. Opening night, they played against the Thunder, took the W. I believe it was 108-100. I could be wrong about that. They took the W against the Thunder. I thought pretty much everybody played really well. Damian Jones has been a huge bright spot for them, as well as Kevon Looney. Klay Thompson's struggling a little bit shooting to begin the year. But Steph Curry and Kevin Durant both playing really well. Draymond Green doing what he normally does. Andre Iguodala missed the game against the Jazz, left early against the Thunder, but he did play tonight against the Nuggets. He's looked okay so far. Hopefully his body will hold up for him. Livingston sat out tonight as well, but he looked really good through the first 2 games. He was a plus 15 against the Jazz, I believe, so that's really nice for him. Alfonso McKinney has played a couple minutes. Jerebko, obviously, we'll get into what he did the other night in a minute, but so I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen from Golden State so far. They did lose to the Nuggets tonight. Actually, I just skipped the Jazz game. But they played against the Jazz, won 124-123 on a last-second tip-in by Jonas Jerebko to win the game. That was a crazy. That was early candidate for Game of the Year. Jazz played really well. Joe Ingles, 27 points, kind of went off from three-point land. Rudy Gobert did what he normally does. Donovan Mitchell wasn't amazing, but he put the ball in the basket. Ricky Rubio also played well. Jay Crowder. So pretty much the Jazz were firing on all cylinders. Donovan Mitchell had a little bit of an off night, but other than that, they were kind of pretty much rolling. And the Warriors went into Salt Lake City, came out, pretty much stole the game away. They were down by, probably like 13, 15 points at some point. I don't remember exactly, but they came back in the fourth quarter, made it really close game. Kevin Durant missed a jumper with clock running out, and Jerebko tips it in with 0.3 seconds left to give the Warriors the win. So that was really exciting. I was kind of screaming at my TV, but it was really fun to watch. See them playing with intensity in a regular season game like that is really good to see. I'm excited for this year after seeing that. So that's really cool. And then tonight, as we just saw, I'm recording this pretty like an hour after the game ended, so we just watched it. But they did lose to the Denver Nuggets tonight, 100-98. Damian Jones got a game-tying layup attempt blocked by Juancho Hernan-Gomez as the clock expired. So I thought they were fine. Steph Curry obviously went off. Another 30-point game for him, shooting really well from 3. Another stat that I did see is Warriors not named Steph Curry are shooting 8 for 40 from 3-point range. That because Klay Thompson has only hit 1, I believe, the entire season. Jerebko has 2. Curry has 11, and nobody else has more than 1. So Klay only has 1. I think KD only has 1. So pretty much everybody's kind of in a shooting slump except for Steph, which is fine. I mean, they're still 2-1. It's been close games, but I mean, Klay and KD will find their shots eventually. It's just a matter of when that'll happen. I'm expecting probably pretty soon. Neither of them stay in a slump for too long, but they'll break out of it. And Jerebko has hit 2. He doesn't have as many attempts, so I'm really impressed with what Jerebko's done so far. Just with that game winner, he's been, that was worth it for everything. That he earned all $2.1 million of his paycheck, or however much we're giving him. Yeah, totally. I don't care if he goes 0 for 4 from 3 for the rest of the season. That was worth it. That might be an over-exaggeration, but that was awesome, by the way. Yeah, pretty much the team is struggling from 3. Other than that, they're playing fine. A bit of a turnover problem tonight. They did have some problems with fouls against the Jazz. In the first quarter, the Jazz shot like 17 free throws, something insane like that. So they needed to kind of be more disciplined on defense, I would say. A lot of their young players are getting kind of taken advantage of a little bit. Smarter, older, like veterans who kind of know how to play. They're becoming a little more. They're like aware of younger players like Damian Jones, Kevon Looney, stuff like that. They're able to draw fouls on them, and they're kind of getting taken advantage of in that way. Warriors kind of got to clean it up a little bit, but it's early season. They'll figure it out. But turnovers and fouling have always been a problem for this team. 3-point shooting has not. So I think they're starting to get it. It was a little better tonight, I think, than it was against the Jazz. The fouling problems, turnovers probably weren't, but they'll break out of their shooting slump, and we'll see. But after 3 games, I'm pretty much what I expected from the Warriors. I was expecting them to lose one of the 2 games on that road trip versus the Jazz and the Nuggets. Those are 2 really tough teams, high altitude. Early on in the season to have to go there is pretty tough. So I did have a feeling they were going to lose one of them. It was tonight against Denver. So, but tomorrow we have the Suns at home, so that should be fine. Suns are not very good. Hopefully the Warriors don't sleep on that and kind of take care of Ayton underneath, and I think they'll be fine. Okay. After that, now we're moving on to my list of surprising and disappointing. So, we're going to start with the surprising teams, the good ones. Kind of as we just talked about, the team that the Warriors just lost to have the Denver Nuggets here. Nuggets are 3-0, and that pretty much constitutes them being here. They're one of only 2 teams in the league right now that are 3-0. Them and the Raptors. Raptors can be expected. Nuggets, probably not. They've played really, really well to start the year. I mean, they haven't really played incredible teams. First they beat the Clippers. Tonight they played the Warriors, which obviously the Warriors are good. But like I mentioned, we kind of were expecting the Warriors to lose that game. Well, I was, at least one of the 2. It was kind of a trap game for them. But the Nuggets did beat the Suns and the Clippers, as well as Golden State. Kind of dominated over the Suns though, and then closed out really well against the Clippers the other night. So, yeah, they're 3-0. That's kind of surprising to me. I mean, I was expecting them to probably lose one of their first 3 games. They've had an easy schedule so far, but we'll see. They do match up against the Kings on Tuesday, Lakers on Thursday in Los Angeles, and then they have the Pelicans on Monday. So these next couple games, Kings should be pretty easy for them. They have the Kings at home. But then after that, Lakers in LA should be difficult, and Pelicans are looking really good so far. So we'll have to see what happens to them over their next week. But Nuggets have looked pretty solid. Jokic had an amazing game the other night against the Suns. I believe it was 35 points, 18 rebounds, 13 assists. It might be. Hold on. Actually, I need to double check this because that and he didn't miss a shot. That's the biggest thing is that he shot perfect from the field. It was 35 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists. So I was a little off there. I inflated those numbers a little bit, but still, that's a great game. 11 for 11 from the field. So perfect triple-double, which, I mean, that's just incredible. Jokic is a great player, and we've already seen a lot from him to start the year, so that's really cool. But yeah, that was cool to see that. Okay, moving on. Number 2, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. Kind of like I just mentioned, they're playing very, very well to start the year. Nikola Mirotic is kind of going off. He's been known as a streaky player. He'll be streaky for like a couple games where he'll play amazing for a couple games in a row and then kind of come back down to being just average. But yeah, he scored like 30 points and then like 35 points, something like that. I believe he's been above 30 in 2 games so far, so that's pretty insane. Anthony Davis is doing what he does. Julius Randle's playing well. Elfrid Payton. Pretty much all their guys are kind of clicking. Destroyed the Kings, absolutely annihilated them. Dropped like 150 points on them. So that's pretty crazy. Other than that, they also beat the Rockets, of course. On the first night of the year, they kind of pretty much destroyed the Rockets as well. So they've only played twice so far, and they don't play again until Tuesday. They get the Clippers at home, so they should be fine there. They also have the Nets at home, and then they travel to Utah to play the Jazz on Saturday on a back-to-back. That'll be tough. Or actually, no, they don't travel to Utah. I don't know why I read that wrong. They're still at home, but it's still a back-to-back against the Jazz, who are also a very good team, and we're going to talk about them in a minute too. But Pelicans, their first 2 games this week probably should be fine for them, but that game against the Jazz will really kind of give us a good sense of how actually good they are. But we'll see what happens. But they've been very, very strong. Mirotic is kind of going off, and that's the biggest thing for them. So doesn't seem like they're missing Boogie too much, but that's early impressions. Just after 2 games, we'll have to see them play again. Number 3, Jazz. They're 1-1. They're 1 loss going to the Warriors. But they kind of played a close game against the Kings, and so you might be wondering, why are they here? They were close win against the Kings and close loss to the Warriors. Well, that game against Golden State was enough to make me sure that the Jazz are definitely contenders this year. After seeing the way that they played that, the Warriors still came out of there with the W, but they probably shouldn't have. The Jazz should have won that game, and they should be 2-0 right now. Given all of that, and the fact that like Joe Ingles is playing out of his mind, they still have Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio, Jay Crowder. All these guys are playing really well. Derek Favors as well. He's another one. Jazz are kind of, I don't know. It seems like they're just taking more and more steps of getting better and better and clicking. Even though they didn't really change their team at all in the offseason. I think the only really thing that they did was they drafted Grayson Allen and got rid of Jonas Jerebko. So basically, they have a rookie Grayson Allen instead of Jonas Jerebko, and that's like pretty much all the changes they made. The rest of their team is exactly the same. While a lot of other teams, made significant changes to their lineups, the Jazz are effectively the same team as last year. So we'll just have to see exactly how far they can go, because they play tough defense. They shoot the 3 really well. They're a good team. They have a tough home floor, tough home court. Players teams don't like to go to Salt Lake and try to win. It's a really nice home court advantage the Jazz have. So we'll have to see just how good they are, but they could be as good as the second best team in the Western Conference. I could see them as being better than Houston this year. They could be better than the Lakers. They could be better than the Pelicans, than anybody else in the West. I think the Jazz are every bit as good as Houston right now. So we'll just have to see how they end up playing down the stretch. But as of right now, just that one game against the Warriors and the way that the Warriors played against them, the intensity, they wouldn't be celebrating a 1-point win like that as in the second game of the season if the Jazz weren't for real. That's plain and simple. I think that might have been a Western Conference Finals preview. That might just be me hoping, because I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the Jazz are like probably my second favorite team. Born and raised in Utah, even though my dad's a Warriors fan, so I grew up watching sports with him. My dad grew up in the Bay Area, so that's why. But yeah, I am from Salt Lake, so I do like the Jazz quite a bit. I root for them as long as they're not playing the Warriors. So, but yeah, that would be a really, really fun matchup. I'd have to definitely go see those games if it was a Western Conference Finals. But we'll just have to see how that ends up happening. But I do think the Jazz can really make a dent in the Western Conference this year. I think they can go all the way to the finals, or the Western Conference Finals. I mean, not to the finals, because the Warriors are going there. We all know that. But yeah, Jazz are playing really well so far. Moving on, I have the Portland Trailblazers here, actually. It's kind of interesting. I did not think that the Trailblazers were going to be very good this year, and here they are at 2-0. Obviously, very early. But they have beaten the Lakers and the Spurs, both of which could be playoff teams out west. We don't know for sure. Neither of them have looked super great so far. But obviously, Lakers with LeBron James on opening night, that's going to be a tough one. And then new look Spurs, Greg Popovich, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan. So Blazers have looked pretty nice. Just those 2 wins are good for them. And they were both pretty convincing as well. Both 10-point wins. Or it was 9 against the Lakers and then like 13 against the Spurs. So pretty convincing, more or less. So yeah, their guards are playing well. Aminu's playing pretty solid as well, as is Yusuf Nurkic. So they're kind of, I'm not really sure what to think of the Blazers. I predicted them to miss the playoffs. Right now, I still probably am sticking by that. I just haven't seen enough from them yet. But they have beaten 2, pretty solid teams. But they're going to they're at home versus the Wizards tomorrow. And then they're traveling to take on the Magic in Orlando and the Heat in Miami, as well as the Pacers in Indiana and the Rockets in Houston over the next week. So this will be a really tough stretch for them. Wizards at home tomorrow. The Wizards are kind of in disarray right now, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Magic should be easy, but that's in Orlando, so a road win is never a gimme, as well as the Heat. Same deal there. Pacers and Rockets on the road will also be tough. So over the next week, we'll have to see how good this Trailblazers team is. But over 2 games so far, they're looking pretty solid. And then at number 5, I have the Dallas Mavericks here. Yes, they are 1-1, but I do have them here just because of that game against the T-Wolves. That really impressed me there. They did lose to the Suns in the season opener, and that you can just attribute that to chemistry issues and whatever. But and maybe I shouldn't have the Mavericks here, but that win against the T-Wolves really showed me a lot from them. Luka Doncic played out of his mind with, what's he get? 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. That's pretty solid. DeAndre Jordan had a really nice game. Dennis Smith Jr. as well. Wesley Matthews with 19 points. Dwight Powell with 19 points. So we'll just have to see how good these Mavericks are. I don't project them to make the playoffs, but I have them here just because of Doncic. Luka played really well, and I think they made a very smart decision trading up to get him. But that's just based off of one game. Doncic is looking really nice. So I have them here just because of Luka and scoring 140 points on the Timberwolves. Yes, they did not have Jimmy Butler. And I could probably put the T-Wolves in the struggling category, even though I don't have them there right now. They probably should be, but without Jimmy Butler, Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins kind of couldn't get the job done against a subpar Dallas team, apparently. D. Rose went off and had 28 points, Karl Anthony Towns 31, Wiggins only 19. So, I don't know. They just didn't have enough. But I do have the Mavericks. The point is the Mavericks, I think, they've impressed me just with that game. That impressed me a little bit. Did not expect them to score 140 on the Timberwolves. Okay. Moving on to my disappointing category. Womp womp. These are teams that I think are struggling so far, performing below my expectation. So let's just start it off with the obvious one. I have the LA Lakers. They are now 0-2, lost against the Trailblazers and the Rockets, both of which are fairly good teams, to be honest with you, right? Rockets and Trailblazers both were playoff teams last year. Both were top 3 seeds last year. Both could potentially be playoffs again this season. But yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't know how good the Trailblazers were. I still don't know how good they are. Rockets we'll get to in a minute because they're my number 2 struggling team. But yeah, the Lakers did take a fat L, and then that whole fight is gonna not help them because Brandon Ingram and Rajon Rondo, both gone for 4 and 3 games respectively. They're gonna have a tough time with that one, I think. Ingram is supposed to be LeBron's number 2 guy. Rondo's their floor general. They're gonna start Lonzo Ball. Obviously, I mean Lonzo's not bad, but they kind of could have used both of them, Rondo and Ball. So. Yeah, and without Ingram scoring, a lot of the other guys are going to have to step it up for the next 4 games. So we'll have to see. Actually, let me check what's up next on their schedule really fast. The LA Lakers. So this week they have the Spurs tomorrow in LA. Then they travel to Phoenix to take on the Suns, Nuggets at home, and then the Spurs again in San Antonio. So those are the 4 games that Brandon Ingram is missing. Rondo will be back for that last one against the Spurs in San Antonio. So that'll be interesting to see, because the Spurs are also kind of we don't really know what they are yet. So we'll have to see what happens tomorrow at home against the Spurs. Popovich is a great coach, and Lakers missing 2 of their best players. LeBron's going to have to try his hardest. We'll see what Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, KCP, JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, we'll see what they all can do to kind of jumpstart this team a little bit. But yeah, they should be okay against Phoenix, but again, that's a road game. Road games are never gimmies. And then they have the undefeated Nuggets at home, so that's also a tough game without those 2 guys. And then they do get Rondo back for that last game against the Spurs, but still missing Ingram's going to hurt him. And then it doesn't really get any better after that. They go to Minnesota to take on the T-Wolves, Mavericks at home, in Portland against the Trailblazers, Raptors at home, T-Wolves at home. They don't really get a break till they get the Hawks at home on November 11th. So they're playing some pretty good teams. We'll have to see how good this Lakers team is. I don't know, man. I pegged them as, I believe I had them top 3, top 4 seed in the West. I really don't know how true that is anymore. I mean, obviously it's just 2 games, and we knew they were going to have an adjustment period. But I don't know. I don't know about the Lakers, man. 2, Houston Rockets. Man, they are not having a good time. They did snag a win against the Lakers because obviously both of them are kind of struggling right now. But they have 2 losses against the Pelicans, and they just lost to the Clippers by 3 points about an hour ago. That was final. So that's I don't know. I don't know what's up with them. I mean, Chris Paul was gone for tonight, and he'll also be gone when they play the Jazz at home on Wednesday. So that's kind of a problem. Yeah, they do need CP for sure. James Harden has been okay for them. Let's see what he did tonight. I didn't get a chance to watch the game. So Harden had 31 points, 14 assists. So that's pretty much all he can do there. Eric Gordon with 21. How did Capella play? 23 points, 6 and 5. So, yeah, they definitely just need Chris Paul. I mean, it was only by 3 to an okay Clippers team. Tobias Harris, 23. Danilo Gallinari, 20. Montrezl Harrell, 17. Lou Williams, 12. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 12. So, that's not bad. I mean, they kind of just let the Clippers, everybody score on them. They didn't really shut anybody down, so I don't know. But Rockets aren't looking great so far. Thunder, number 3. They are 0-3. Thunder, I think there's 2 0-3 teams right now. Yeah, them and the Cavs. So they missed Westbrook for their first 2. Obviously, playing against Golden State is going to be not a great recipe. Golden State on the road without your best player, not great. And then they also lost to the Clippers. Yep, lost to the Clippers without Westbrook again. Tonight they played the Kings. Westbrook did play, but they lost at home in Oklahoma City to a terrible Kings team with their entire roster healthy. So I don't really know what's up with that. It could just be an anomaly. It probably is. Again, there's going to be an adjustment period for them with the addition of Schroeder and losing Carmelo Anthony. It'll be a little bit of an adjustment for the Thunder, but I don't know. Losing to the Kings at home is pretty bad. And not only did they lose, they gave up 131 points to them. They let Iman Shumpert score 26, and 6 other people score in double figures. Willie Cauley-Stein, Bielitsa, De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Justin Jackson, and Marvin Bagley all had more than 10 points. Yogi Ferrell with 9, Harry Giles with 8, so they weren't really doing a good job of shutting anybody down. On the Thunder side of things, Paul George had 29, Westbrook had 32. Still was not enough. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what's up with OKC, but they're 0-3 right now. That hasn't happened since 2007, 2008, I think. Okay, moving on. I have the Wizards here, number 4. They are 0-2, lost 2 close games by 1 point to Kelly Olynyk and the Miami Heat, and then by 4, I think it was, to the Raptors without Kawhi Leonard. So that's, I don't know, that's kind of strange for me. I mean, actually, no, because I've never really been super high on the Wizards. I put them in the playoffs because there's nobody else in the East that's going to, but they're just kind of they're like Timberwolves East, not Timberwolves, they're like Trailblazers East for me. They seem very, very similar. They've got 2 guards who are like, both like, they're good, but they kind of need something else because you can't just have 2 guards and no front court. Dwight Howard, I don't think he's played yet. Has he? Let me check this. Did he play today? Not today, yesterday. Dwight Howard did not play yesterday. Yeah, he still has a butt injury. So, yeah, that is a problem. Beal had 32, John Wall had 25. Came up short against the Raptors with no Kawhi. So, I mean, we know the Raptors are good, but the Wizards should have been able to win that one at home with the Raptors without their best player. So, if they want to be, if they think that they can try to win the Eastern Conference, you need to be able to beat the Raptors at home without Kawhi. That's just something that kind of has to happen. So, yeah, Wizards are kind of struggling right now. I kind of expect that from them. They're not I don't know how to put this. They've just never had good chemistry. None of them. So, I don't know. But number 5, I have the Cavs. Cleveland. I don't know. They're 0-3. They're the only other team in the NBA other than the Thunder that are 0-3 right now. And we kind of expected the Cavs to be bad, but I didn't expect them to be this bad. I had them as like sneaky 8th seed maybe. But yeah, losing to the Raptors is understandable. Losing to the T-Wolves in Minnesota is understandable. But the Hawks at home by 20 points? Really? I mean, you gave up 133 to the Hawks. Given Trae Young went off, and we're going to talk about him in a second. But yeah, Trae Young had 35 points, 11 assists, made 6 3-pointers, so that's kind of not much you can really do there. Spellman had 17, DeAndre Bembry 13, Alex Len with 16 points, Kent Bazemore had 23, Taurean Prince had 14. So, yeah, man, I don't know what you're supposed to do, losing 20 points at home to the Hawks. But yeah, on the Cavs side of things, Kevin Love with 16 points and 17 boards. He should be able to score more than that. I don't know what I was expecting, but I'm expecting more of old Kevin Love. I guess he probably has to get used to playing as the number 1 option again, now that he no longer has LeBron and he's not just a spot-up shooter. But yeah, K-Love has to kind of get used to that. Jordan Clarkson with 19 points. Rodney Hood 13, George Hill 16, Tristan Thompson 11, Chetty Osman with 12. Colin Sexton played 28 minutes and only had 4, so that's kind of a problem. Sexton needs to score it a little bit more, but that's neither here nor there. I do have the Cavs. It's kind of disappointing for me. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe to just not lose by 20 at home to the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, so that was kind of long, but we're moving on. So those are my 5 and 5. Surprising and disappointing. This might be something that comes back in the future. We'll have to see how things go. But yeah, next week, again, if anything with Jimmy Butler happens, we'll talk about it. But it's looking less and less likely by the day. So right now the plan is to just discuss things as they happen. Top performances of the week, what's going on around the league, stuff like that. Basketball is finally back, you guys. So before we go, we're just going to give some shout-outs to a couple guys who I thought had really nice games this week. Trae Young, first of all, I mentioned it, but he had 35 points, 11 assists tonight, hit a bunch of threes. I did really like Trae Young coming out of college. A lot of people criticize the Hawks for that Doncic trade. Personally, I didn't think it was too bad, just because I'm not as low on Trae Young as everybody else. A lot of people are saying, well, wow, Doncic is going to be so much better than Trae. I don't know that that's true. I think they both have potential to be really good. Obviously, I think Doncic is going to be a good player. I mean, there's not really many people who are going to tell you that they think Doncic is going to be a bust, just because he's so NBA ready. I mean, he was the MVP of the EuroLeague, which is the second best league in the world, and he's 19 years old. Like, what do you want? What do you want to do? Like, Doncic is insane. He's the most NBA ready prospect out of anybody. We saw that the other night when he scored 26 points on the T-Wolves. This guy he's good and he's for real. So obviously the Mavericks made a good decision getting him. That doesn't mean that the Hawks made a bad decision to also draft Trae Young. They decided that Doncic wasn't their guy, and that's fine. So they traded down, got another first-round pick, and still got a really good player. Yes, there's a little bit of a risk involved with Trae, but right now he's playing like he's not going to be a bust. 35 points and 11 assists is something that's only been done twice in like the last 25 years. You know who did that? LeBron James and Steph Curry. They're the only two people who have scored 35 and more than 10 assists. That's it. That's the list. LeBron James, Steph Curry, Trae Young. Come on, people. Quit calling him a bust already. Like, I feel like he's going to be good. Maybe that's just my opinion, but he struggled in preseason, and everyone's like, wow, the Hawks are so dumb. No, maybe they're just going to both be good players. Maybe Doncic and Trae Young are both going to be good, and the Hawks just got another first-round pick out of it, too. So, we'll have to see with that. Obviously, we can't judge that decision for at least like 4 or 5 more years. Because we'll have to see how their careers pan out as a whole before we fairly start judging that. But right now, huge shout out to Trae. Played really well this week. Also, I wanted to shout out Luka. We kind of already did, but 26 points against the T-Wolves is nothing to laugh at. NBA ready prospect. Yeah, great. Both of them deserve shout outs this week. Both played really nice games. Shout out to Kemba Walker too, man. Speaking of Kemba Walker, he's on my fantasy team, as is Trae Young. As is Mr. Kevin Durant. So, and Kevin Love, Jimmy Butler, but yeah, maybe I'll talk about my fantasy team one time. But yeah, so Kemba is kind of doing work for me. He's the reason I'm in first place in my league right now. But he's scored like 41 points, 39 points. Hornets are 2-1. Kemba's kind of going off on people. So the man is filling it up as the rest of his team kind of falls behind a little bit, but Kemba is playing really well. He might have played like he's the best player in the league. He might like be the MVP through the first week of the season. I mean, like seriously, somebody stop Kemba, like for real. But yeah, shout outs to Kemba. He played some really nice games this week, scored a ton. So yeah, that's that for him. And then couple shout-outs to Kelly Olynyk and Jonas Jerebko, who both hit game winners this week. Kind of two players who were like, why would they hit a game winner? But just off of tip-ins and putbacks and stuff. So, yeah, like, it's kind of went from that point where it's like, why are you on the floor with 2 seconds left in a 1-point ball game? And, oh, that's why you were on the floor with 2 seconds left in a 1-point ball game. So, man, shout-outs to Olynyk and Jerebko. Great moments for both of them. So, that was really cool to watch that happen. So, yeah, both had tip-ins with less than 1 second remaining to give their team the win. So, that was fun. And lastly, we have Devin Booker, who is kind of going off this week. He played a really nice game against Dallas, kind of iced the win for them, for the Suns in their first game of the year, as well as they did take a loss to the Nuggets the other day, but he still had 25 points. So I just wanted to shout out D-Book. He's, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I think Devin Booker is probably my favorite player who's not on the Warriors. I just really like his game a lot. I just think he's a neat guy. You know, I just like the way that he plays. So, for whatever reason, I've just always found myself drawn to Devin Booker. So, he played really well this week. So, huge shout-outs to him. And then, yeah, that's going to be it for this week. This was kind of a longer episode. I don't know if I want to keep him this long, because who wants to sit through, like, 35 minutes of me talking? But, anyway. That's going to be it. I'll see you guys next week with some more wrap-ups, whatever happens this week. But yeah, I'll let you guys know. And peace out. See you next time.